I've always been handy, able to make broken things whole again. But some things you don't mend, you discard and replace. My name is Mark Sullivan, and for 23 years I've worked as a mechanic at Sullivan's Auto, the garage my father opened and that I took over when his heart failed. Engines are my language. Transmissions speak to me. I can pick out the note a bearing makes just before it gives out, that barely audible scrape of metal fatigue most people never notice. Maybe that's why I heard the same sound when my marriage began to fail. Emily wasn't always like this. When we met 15 years ago at her cousin's wedding, she said she was drawn to my quiet confidence. She admired that I could revive her battered Honda with little more than a few basic tools and pure grit. She'd perch on a milk crate in my garage, nursing a beer, laughing at my stories about impossible customers. We were content with Friday night pizza, Sunday morning coffee on the porch, our small life in our small house on Maple Street. The shifts were subtle at first. "Why don't we ever go anywhere interesting?" she'd ask, thumb flicking through Instagram. "Look at Sarah's trip to Cabo. Look at Michelle's new kitchen." I'd point out that Sarah's husband was up to his neck in debt and Michelle had been through 3 marriages, but Emily would only sigh and say, "I didn't realize." Then the late nights began. Marketing conferences that somehow stretched into evening sessions, team-building events, dinners that ran until midnight. Her phone, which used to be left forgotten on the counter, became part of her hand. She tilted it away when I came near, angling the screen so I couldn't see. The passcode shifted from our anniversary to something I didn't know. New perfume appeared by her dresser, an expensive scent that made her smell like someone else. Receipts from cafes in neighborhoods she had no reason to be in. The way she dabbed at her makeup before a quick run to the store. The way she stopped asking about my day and stopped sharing hers. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. I didn't want to be that husband, the suspicious man who looks through phone logs and tails his wife's car. My father used to say, "Trust is everything. Without it, you're just 2 strangers splitting the bills." So I shoved the doubts down, ignored the little alarms, told myself I was imagining things. But mechanics trust their instincts. When a machine feels off, it's usually right. One Tuesday night in October, Emily thought I was asleep. I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand once, twice, 3 quick times. She grabbed it and slipped into the bathroom. Through the closed door I could hear her giggling, that light musical laugh she hadn't given me in months. When she came back to bed she avoided touching me, making a distance between us that felt like an ocean. I lay there in the dark and listened. Her breathing eventually slowed and I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her with accusations fueled by feelings. I wasn't going to beg for the truth or demand answers she could just lie through. I was going to do what I know how to do. Diagnose the issue methodically, collect proof, figure out precisely what was broken before deciding whether to repair it or scrap it. The next morning I got to the garage earlier than usual. I sat at my bench, cleaning and arranging my tools. Each wrench had its place, each screwdriver its slot. Order out of chaos. That's what I needed. Order from the mess Emily had introduced into our life. I'd spent my life fixing things. But that night, watching Emily's phone light up with messages she thought I couldn't see, I understood that some things are not for fixing, they're for exposing. Hired a private investigator on a Thursday morning, 3 days after I made up my mind. Peterson Investigations was 3 towns over in Millbrook, a place where nobody knew me. Tom Peterson was an ex-cop, broad-shouldered and blunt, the sort of man whose face had grown used to betrayal. "You want the full package or just confirmation?" he asked, pushing a service sheet across his cluttered desk. "Everything," I said. "Pos, recordings if legal, background on whoever she's seeing, financial activity, everything." Tom looked me up and down. "You sure?" Sometimes knowing less helps with the divorce, emotional distress and all that. "I fix things for a living," I told him. "Can't fix what I don't completely understand." The first report arrived a week later. Tom had trailed Emily to lunch at Chat Lauren, the French place downtown where the appetizers cost more than our weekly groceries. The photos were sharp. Emily laughing, her hand on the forearm of a man in a $1,000 suit. David Whitman, 32, marketing executive at Pearson Associates, Wharton MBA. Tesla parked outside, everything I was not. I sat at my bench after closing, studying the photos. Emily in a dress I had never seen, wearing jewelry that wasn't part of her usual set. She looked radiant, alive in a way she hadn't with me for years. In one picture David fed her something off his fork. In another her head was thrown back in laughter, her throat exposed, vulnerable and beautiful. Tom's surveillance kept going. Tuesday lunches turned into a routine. Thursday client meetings were actually evenings at wine bars in the city. The so-called weekend conference in Boston 3 weeks into the investigation was a bed and breakfast in the Barkers. Tom was meticulous, professional, and almost apologetic in the depth of his documentation of my wife's double life. The text messages were the worst. Tom's tech guy retrieved them from Emily's cloud backup. She'd never changed the password from the one I set up years ago. David can't stop thinking about last night. Emily, me neither. Mark would die if he knew what that conference room table has seen. David, when are you going to leave him? Emily, soon. Just need to figure out the money situation. In this state, I should get half of everything, including his business. David, you deserve so much more than that grease monkey. Emily, he's not a bad man. Just small. Small dreams, small life. I need more than a grease monkey. 15 years of marriage and I was a grease monkey with small dreams. I organized everything with precise care. Photos sorted by date and place. Text transcripts highlighted where they mattered. Financial statements showing hotel charges during supposed girls' nights. A timeline of lies, each piece documented and verified. The strangest thing was how calm I felt. No fury, no frantic grief. Just a cold, clear recognition that the woman I slept beside each night was a stranger wearing my wife's face. She was plotting to ruin me financially while playing the victim. The small-town mechanic's wife who deserved better. I studied divorce law obsessively. In our state, adultery didn't automatically change how assets were split, but it could affect alimony. With sufficient proof of financial deceit and planning, I could safeguard the business my father built. But I needed Emily to slip up, to be caught so completely that no lawyer could spin it in her favor. Tom called on a Tuesday evening, 6 weeks after I'd hired him, while Emily was at another client dinner. "Your wife's getting careless," he said. "What?" I asked. "Whitman's been to your house," he replied. "What? Twice? During your work hours?" "Neighbors might have seen the Tesla," he explained. I sat in my empty kitchen absorbing the violation. Our bed. She'd brought him into our bed. "There's more," Tom went on. "Whitman's married. His wife doesn't know. Might be useful leverage." "Send me everything," I said. That night I watched Emily come home slightly tipsy, singing under her breath. She kissed my cheek without meaning to and headed to the shower. From the bathroom counter her phone buzzed. I heard her laugh and whisper, "I love you too," to someone who wasn't me. Emily thought she was clever and careful. But mechanics understand one thing. Every machine has a breaking point, and I had just found hers. The idea of a second honeymoon formed while I was rebuilding a transmission. Often to repair something properly you have to disassemble it entirely, lay each part out, see how they war against one another. I began my plan on a Sunday morning, 2 months after hiring Tom. Emily sipped coffee, scrolling with that faraway smile that meant she was texting David. I sat across from her and took her free hand. "We need to talk," I said. Her face drained of color. The phone went silent with a click. "About what?" she asked, tense. "About us. We're drifting, Em. I can feel it." Relief washed over her face and told me everything. She thought I was finally seeing the distance she'd manufactured. "I feel it too," she admitted. "I want to fix this. I've been thinking, what if we went away? Just us, like a second honeymoon." I watched her consider it, guilt passing across her features followed by a quick calculation. Could she make this work without looking suspicious? Would it give her more time to plan an exit? "Where would we go?" she asked carefully. "I found a cabin up in the Barkers. Totally off-grid. Just mountains and forest. No distractions, just the two of us trying to remember how to be us." The irony didn't escape me. The same area where she'd spent that conference weekend with David just weeks earlier. Her eye twitched almost imperceptibly. "When?" she asked. 2 weeks. I already arranged coverage at the shop." She forced a smile. "That sounds lovely." Over the next 2 weeks I became the husband she said she wanted. I brought flowers, not grocery store stems but arrangements from the fancy florist downtown. I cooked intricate dinners, lit candles, asked about her day with what looked like honest curiosity. I reinitiated intimacy with the patience and attention I hadn't shown in years. Emily seemed unsettled, off balance. Sometimes in quiet moments I caught her gazing at me with something like regret. Once, After I'd spent an hour rubbing her feet while we watched her favorite movie, she started to cry. "What's wrong?" I asked softly. "You're being so wonderful." "I don't deserve this," she sobbed. "Everyone deserves a second chance," I told her, kissing her forehead while memorizing the exact shade of guilt in her eyes. Meanwhile, I prepared. The cabin was ideal. 4 hours from civilization, reachable only by a winding mountain road. No cell towers for miles. I'd driven up twice beforehand to reconnoiter, checking every detail. The evidence box went into my truck's lockbox. I packed our bags deliberately, including lingerie I'd found hidden in her drawer, sets she'd never worn for me. The drive up felt surreal. Emily tried to act excited, pointing out the foliage and making small talk, but I watched her checking her phone until the bars disappeared. I saw her jaw clench when she realized she couldn't send David a last message. The first 2 days were a contest of manipulation, hers and mine. I recreated our early dates, hiking to secret waterfalls, cooking together, dancing to our wedding song on the cabin's scuffed wooden floor. I told her stories about our beginning, reminded her of inside jokes, and made her laugh like she hadn't in months. She reacted like a woman drowning in remorse. Sometimes she leaned into the nostalgia, kissing me with something close to real passion. Other times she excused herself to the bathroom and I could hear her trying to find a signal spot, probably needing David's voice to remind herself why she was destroying us. On the second night, after we'd made love with an unexpected tenderness, she curled into me and whispered, "Maybe we can fix this." Maybe. I stroked her hair and agreed, knowing that in less than 24 hours she'd learned the cost of throwing away 15 years. I slept hardly at all that last night. Emily lay peaceful beside me, one hand on my chest, breathing steady and deep. She looked younger in sleep, like the woman who had said, "I do," with joy leaking from her eyes. I memorized that moment, the last time she'd ever feel safe with me. Tomorrow she'd see what 15 years of trust could buy and what it cost when you discard it. The final morning arrived crisp and clear. I made blueberry pancakes, her favorite, with real maple syrup and fresh coffee. She came downstairs wearing my old flannel, hair tousled, looking more like the woman I married than she had in years. "This has been wonderful," she said, and I believe she meant it. "I feel like I've remembered who we used to be." "We're going to remember a lot of things today," I replied. After breakfast, I suggested one last hike. We took the trail to an overlook from which, on a clear day, you could see 3 states. Emily held my hand on the steep parts, laughed when we startled a deer, took selfies of us with the valley spread below. She saved them to her phone. No signal to post them, but I watched her smile at the screen, evidence of a happiness she would probably erase later. Back at the cabin, as the sun sank through the trees, Emily opened a bottle of wine and settled into the worn leather couch looking content, almost happy. That's when I pulled the box from my truck. "What's that?" she asked. Wine glass paused at her lips. "The truth," I said, setting it on the coffee table between us. I opened it slowly, like a mechanic unveiling a ruined engine to a customer. First, the photos. Emily and David at Shaw Lauren, her hand on his thigh. The kiss in the parking garage sent her wine glass tumbling, the red spreading across the wooden floor like a stain of blood. "Mark, I can explain," she blurted, voice frayed. "Please don't," I said, and spread more photographs across the coffee table. Hotel receipts from that weekend in the Berkshires when she swore she was at a conference. Tom Peterson is thorough, 3 towns over, in case you were wondering. He'd been logging everything for 2 months. Her face flickered through shock, then fear, then quick calculation, then raw panic. "Those could be anyone," she murmured weakly, and I pulled out the text transcripts. "Should I read them out loud? The ones where you call me a grease monkey? The messages where you and David discuss what goes on in our bed? Or maybe the financial plans, how you were going to claim half my father's business?" Emily began pacing, hands trembling. "It's not what it looks like," she pleaded. "David means nothing." I was confused. "Lonely. Lonely," I echoed, thinking of our nights while I worked to pay for the life she declared insufficient. "We can mend this," she sobbed, promising counseling, swearing she'd end it with David today. David Whitman. Married, by the way. His wife Jennifer doesn't know yet, but she will by tomorrow. I slid my phone across and showed her the email I drafted to Jennifer Whitman. "Attachments ready. Or you can tell her yourself," I said, watching her collapse back onto the couch. "You can't," she whispered. "His kids." She breathed, They deserve a father who doesn't tear families apart for sport. I set the final piece on the table, the recordings Tom had made. Want to hear yourself from last Tuesday? When you told him you loved him, when you laughed about how stupid I was. I hit play. Emily's voice filled the cabin, cold, casual, talking about our sex life with surgical detachment, plotting her exit, ridiculing my attempt to save us. The woman on the tape was nothing like the woman wailing on the couch. When it finished, the silence between us yawned wide. I'm leaving, I said at last. The divorce papers are in the box. You wanted an escape from our dull life. Congratulations, you have it. You can't leave me here, she cried, hysteria edging her tone. It's miles from anywhere. 4 hours to the nearest town. There is a landline in the cabin for emergencies, though I doubt David will take a collect call, I answered flatly, then rose, grabbed my keys and jacket. Emily clutched my arm, mascara streaking down her face. Please don't do this. 15 years, Mark. Doesn't that mean anything? She begged. It meant everything to me, I said, removing her hand. To you it was worth less than a marketing exec with a Tesla. I'll die out here, she screamed. No, I replied. You'll walk. You'll be uncomfortable, tired, maybe scared. But you'll survive. You're excellent at surviving off other people's labor. I walked to the door as she alternated between threats and pleas. She'd ruin me, she'd kill herself, she'd love me forever if I stayed, she'd make it up to me. At the truck I turned once more. Your things will be on the lawn when you get home. The locks are changed. Your parents know where you are coming. You bastard, she screamed. You can't do this. Watch me, I said and drove off. Her voice followed me down the mountain road until it dwindled to nothing. For the first time in months, the only sound in my truck was the engine, running smooth and true. The 4-hour drive back was crystalline. I stopped at Murphy's Diner halfway home for coffee and apple pie, then called my lawyer from the parking lot. With the dossier I'd compiled, he said the divorce would be straightforward. Emily's infidelity plus proof of financial scheming would strip her of any claim to the business and likely leave her with little or no alimony. She'll fight, he warned. With what? I asked. She has no funds for counsel without you, and no lawyer will take a contingency case once they see the evidence, he replied. At home I moved like a man executing a job, Emily's clothes into trash bags, efficient, not spiteful. Her jewelry, the photos, even her stash of romance novels that probably fed her fantasy of David as soulmate. 23 bags in total, lined up on the lawn like a formation. I changed the locks myself. Hands that rebuild engines can handle a deadbolt. I forwarded her mail to her parents, canceled her credit cards, removed her name from our joint accounts and utilities. Surgical and precise. I took the week off because I knew she'd eventually return and I wanted to be present for the final act. Her father, Bill, called that evening furious. What the hell did you do? Emily's missing. I told him where she'd been and that a landline was available at the cabin. He wanted to go get her immediately. I told him to wait, let her walk back on her own if she wanted independence so badly. It took 3 days for her to get home. Neighbors later filled me in. She tried to walk the first day and made it only 5 miles, turned back exhausted. On day 2 she conserved energy. On day 3 desperation propelled her into town, filthy, spent, and humiliated. Bill picked her up at a gas station. The owner said she looked like a homeless woman, designer clothes torn and filthy, hair matted, makeup gone. She wailed all the way home while her mother sat silent. I watched Bill's Buick pull into our driveway from the living room window. Emily saw the bags on the lawn first. She stumbled from the car and tried the lock. When it refused, she pounded on the door, screaming, "Mark, open up! This is my house too!" Neighbors, Mrs. Patterson, the Johnsons, watched, and I let her pound for nearly an hour. Let the street see her unravel. Eventually, I opened the door and stood in the frame to bar her entry. She looked wrecked, hair limp, face hollow, clothes ruined, scent of fear and forest and fury clinging to her. "The divorce papers are in the box," I said calmly. "Sign them or contest them. Either way, this marriage is over. You can't just throw me away," she screamed. "I'm not throwing you away," I answered evenly. "I'm returning you to your parents like defective merchandise. David Whitman has been notified. His wife knows everything. I doubt he'll be your safety net." Emily lunged, trying to push past me into the house. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "This is theft," she howled. "I'll call the police." "Please do," I replied. "I have documents proving adultery and financial fraud. They'll be very interested." Bill came forward, weary. "Come on, Emily. Let's go home," he said, leading her away. "This is my home," she protested. "Not anymore," I said and watched them drive off. "I loved you once," she called back desperately. I know, I said. That's precisely what makes this so pathetic. When her parents' car rounded the corner, I felt something shift. Anger was gone, replaced by something cleaner. Justice doesn't always erupt. Sometimes it quietly shuts the door and leaves. 6 months is how long everything took to settle into its final shape. The divorce itself wrapped up in 4 months. Fast for the courts. Emily's lawyer, a public defender type Bill had found, crumbled when faced with the avalanche of proof. Photos, texts, bank records, recordings. She walked away with her clothes and her car, and nothing more. No alimony, no stake in the house or the business. The judge even noted her attempted financial deception. David Whitman's fall was predictable. After my email the day after I left Emily at the cabin, his marriage imploded. Their divorce was messier than ours. 2 kids, big assets, his career on the line. His company discovered encounters in office spaces and fired him for professional misconduct. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Phoenix. Emily now lives with her parents. Bill told me she stocks shelves the night shift at Target. She tried to contact David, but he blocked her number before she even got home. She tried dating apps, but gossip travels fast in small towns. Everyone knows she's the woman who cheated on Mark Sullivan, the mechanic who keeps their cars running. I see her sometimes at the grocery store or the gas station. She looks older, brittle, and she always looks away first. My life rebuilt itself slowly. The shop is busier than ever. Apparently folks respect a man who stands up for himself. I'm dating again, nothing serious yet, but there is a teacher named Carol who drops by for oil changes and laughs at my lousy jokes. She's simple and honest, the very thing Emily pretended to be. The house feels different now, lighter. I replaced the bedroom furniture, painted the walls, made it mine. No ghosts, no echoes of betrayal, just a place I can breathe. Tom Peterson called last week. You doing okay? He asked. Better than okay, I told him. You handled that situation with class. Most men would have gone scorched earth, he said approvingly. I gave her what she wanted, I replied. Freedom. She just didn't understand freedom comes with a price. Sometimes I think about Emily in that cabin, realizing I wasn't coming back, and wonder if she ever grasped what she had thrown away on that walk home. I wonder if she ever understood that our life wasn't small. It was real. Mostly, though, I don't think about her. She got exactly what she asked for. Sometimes the cruelest kindness is handing someone precisely what they believe they want. So that's the end of today's story. Did it unfold how you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. If this kept you hooked, hit the like button, and if you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, now's a perfect time to join the channel. I bring new, gripping stories every day, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.